Why was I standing here? Who was I just talking to? Why can't I remember? This isn't just aging. Well, if you ignore it, your brain will quietly weaken every day. It's not too late if you just change your eating habits. You can preserve your memory. Have you ever been standing in front of a room and suddenly forgotten what you were going to do? While it's possible to get it, the effectiveness depends entirely on how you eat it. If you eat it wrong, you might feel like you've tried hard but haven't seen any changes. But if you eat it right, your body and brain will respond clearly. The brain doesn't need extravagance. What it needs is understanding and consistency. The moment you start changing small details in your daily diet, you're giving your brain a chance to stay clear for longer, preventing precious memories from fading too quickly. When talking about foods that help with brain recovery and brain function, there's one thing many people have heard of but don't truly believe in. Some people think it's just an ordinary cooking ingredient, incomparable to nuts or expensive health supplements. However, with over 30 years of clinical experience, if I had to name the one thing that has the most powerful effect on memory and brain clarity, I would say, without hesitation, raw perilla oil. Many people have a habit of eating nuts like walnuts or almonds, hoping they'll be good for their brain. While this isn't wrong, there's a little-known fact. When you eat whole nuts, very little of the nutrients actually reach your brain. Our digestive system can't completely break down the hard structure of nuts, so most of the beneficial fatty acids are excreted before they can be absorbed. Even if you eat a handful of nuts a day, your brain only receives a small portion. Raw perilla oil is different. When you use cold-pressed raw perilla oil correctly, its omega-3 fatty acids enter your body in a much more absorbable form. The most important thing is when to consume it. Consuming this oil on an empty stomach in the morning significantly increases absorption, as the digestive system doesn't compete with other foods. I often explain this point to my patients with a simple analogy. When the roads are quiet in the early morning, cars are fast, and you can get to your destination in no time. However, during rush hour and other traffic jams, no matter how hard I try, I can't speed up. Drinking raw perilla oil on an empty stomach is like driving on a quiet road, delivering essential nutrients directly to the brain. I still remember the case of a patient named Kim Do-hyun. He often missed appointments and medications, yet he considered himself to be eating very healthily. Upon closer inspection, I discovered he was eating a lot of fiber every day and believed it was sufficient. I suggested he temporarily stop eating fiber and instead try taking a spoonful of raw perilla oil every morning, right after waking up, before water or other food. At first, he was hesitant because of the smell, but he eventually decided to give it a try. When I returned about 3 months later, the first thing I noticed wasn't his test results, but his attitude. He seemed much more confident, spoke clearly, and said he rarely missed appointments these days. He said, "Every morning, I start my day with a clear memory of whether I took the oil or not. This is a very good sign. Easier recall of small details means that my neural connections are functioning more efficiently." It's important to remember that only raw perilla oil should be used. Avoid steamed or heated perilla oil. The high heat generated during the roasting process destroys most of the beneficial fatty acids, turning the oil into regular fat. Long-term consumption can actually be harmful. Raw perilla oil must be refrigerated to prevent oxidation. Leaving it in a sealed container for too long can cause it to spoil and lose its effectiveness. The method of consumption is very simple. Simply swallow a small spoonful of raw perilla oil as soon as you open your eyes each morning. There's no need to mix it with water or food. Wait about 30 minutes afterward before eating breakfast. Many people ask if it's difficult to drink. While the aroma of seaweed and curry, which are key ingredients in the absorption of the oil, may be a bit unfamiliar for the first few days, most patients become accustomed to it after about 3 days. And after experiencing the changes in their brain, they hardly notice the smell. In addition to memory, perilla oil also helps the cerebral blood vessels, promoting smooth blood circulation. When blood, rich in oxygen and nutrients, is well supplied to the brain, nerve cells can function in a more stable environment. This is why many people feel less dizzy and lightheaded after using it consistently for a certain period of time. Compared to expensive health supplements, Perilla oil is much easier to obtain and less expensive. More importantly, because it is a natural food, it has fewer side effects when used properly. However, the effects only appear when small details, such as selecting the right type, storing it properly, and taking it at the right time, are followed consistently. In summary, the brain doesn't need too much at once. What it needs is the right nutrients at the right time. By providing the brain with the right ingredients, neurons have the opportunity to recover, reconnect, and maintain a clear state for a long time. This isn't something that happens overnight. It's a daily process of preserving your memory. Now that you understand each food and how to consume it properly, here's the most important thing I want you to remember. Simply eating each food separately won't produce the full effect. The brain functions as a single system and responds best when it's continuously fed with a logical flow. Therefore, the right combination is the key to creating a clear change. In my clinical practice, I often guide patients through a very simple plan they can implement for the first 7 days to help their brains adapt and reawaken. The first 3 days are a preparatory phase. Every morning, immediately after waking up, without eating anything, take a spoonful of raw perilla oil. Don't even drink water first. About 30 minutes later, have breakfast. Rice and 2 soft-boiled eggs. The egg whites are cooked thoroughly, while the yolks are left soft. This method starts the day by simultaneously supplying the necessary nutrients for nerve cells to build energy and connect. For lunch, eat an apple with the peel, soaked in vinegar water, and then thoroughly washed, chewing slowly so that the body can slowly absorb it. If you eat curry for dinner, be sure to serve it on a plate, sprinkle a generous amount of pepper just before eating, and serve it with dried seaweed, quickly roasted without oil, and lightly dipped in soy sauce. In just a few days, many people begin to notice a less heavy head, less afternoon drowsiness, and clearer thinking. Maintain this eating pattern from the 4th to 7th day. This is the stage where the brain receives a steady supply of energy. As nerve cells continue to receive the proper stimulation, their connections and signal transmission abilities become more stable. During this period, many patients report being able to recall people's names more quickly and not having to spend as much time remembering everyday events as they used to. Just as there are proper combinations, there are also things to avoid. Perilla oil should never be heated or added to hot foods. Heat destroys the beneficial fatty acids. After eating seaweed, avoid drinking coffee immediately. Wait at least 30 minutes to allow the brain-protecting vitamins to fully absorb. Eggs, too, lose most of their brain-healthy value if they're thoroughly cooked. I always emphasize to my patients that a weakened brain isn't simply due to age. It's often the result of poor eating habits accumulated over time. Over time, without any protection, many nerve cells lose function. The moment you put off making changes, you miss the opportunity to preserve precious memories. I once met an elderly patient named Jong Soo-hyun. She came to me with a very depressed expression and told me that she had been eating nuts for years, believing they were good for her memory, but her forgetfulness had not improved at all. After just a few months of implementing the perilla oil, soft-boiled eggs, apples without the peel, properly seasoned seaweed, and curry with pepper, she was able to recall numbers she had previously thought completely forgotten. She told me her biggest regret was discovering these methods too late. That's why I'm sharing this with you, so you won't have the same regrets. It doesn't require complicated or expensive methods. Simply understanding them correctly and practicing them consistently is enough. The brain is a remarkably adaptable organ with the right support, and it can remain clear for much longer than you might think. In short, my key message is this: memory doesn't disappear by accident. It gradually declines when the brain isn't properly nourished. When you consume the right foods in the right way at the right time and in harmony, your nerve cells have a chance to recover and maintain their function. The 5 elements discussed so far do not operate independently, but rather complement each other and create a solid foundation for the brain. Thank you for watching until the end. If you found this helpful, please like and subscribe to the channel for future content. Staying here, listening, and practicing is the first step toward maintaining brain health. May you continue to maintain a clear and sharp mind and precious memories in the years to come. Have you ever called your child or grandchild and just hung up and couldn't remember who you were talking to? Have you ever woken up in the morning feeling heavy, dizzy, and slow to react, even though you've eaten properly or never eaten? Many people think this is nothing special, a natural part of aging. But the truth is, if you ignore these signs, your brain will quietly weaken every day. It's like an engine running low on oil, running on the outside, but constantly wearing down on the inside. Once brain cells are deeply damaged, their ability to recover is significantly reduced, and there's not always a chance of returning to their former state. Fortunately, it's not too late. Even small changes to the way you eat familiar foods can slow memory decline and even reactivate dormant brain cells. In today's post, I'll explain the real causes of memory loss and how to safely manage it without relying on medication, using only food and healthy habits. Before we begin, if you're interested in brain health, follow the channel and subscribe so you don't miss out on future posts. You can share your thoughts in the comments, or if you'd like to receive the full information you need to put into practice, leave a comment with the number 2. Your feedback motivates me to continue sharing more helpful content. This post will cover foods that are so familiar that they're found in almost every home. However, many people eat them incorrectly, resulting in minimal results. And if you miss this one crucial point, all your efforts could be in vain. If you listen to the end, you'll understand why some people noticeably improve their memory in just a few weeks, while others don't see any improvement even after years of healthy eating. My name is Yuho Jin. I'm a medical specialist with over 30 years of experience, currently working at University Hospital. During that time, I've met many patients who complain of memory loss, frequent forgetfulness, and dulled thinking. What I find most disappointing is that many people are heading in the right direction, but are missing crucial details. The first food I'd like to talk about is apples. When you think of apples, most people think they're healthy fruits, and eating them every day is enough. However, the problem lies in how you eat them. Many people peel the apple and eat only the flesh, but in the process, they're throwing away the most important part. Research shows that apple peels are rich in powerful antioxidants that protect brain cells from free radicals. These antioxidants are even higher in apple flesh. Throwing away the peel isn't just removing a thin layer. It's also discarding the core of what protects the brain. I once met an elderly patient named Kim Mi-jong. She complained that the letters on newspapers were becoming blurry and that her memory was declining despite eating fruit regularly. When I questioned her further, she explained that she always peeled apples before eating them because she was concerned about pesticides. I explained that she could eat the peel by soaking the apple in water with vinegar for about 3 minutes and then rinsing it thoroughly. A few weeks later, she called back and said her eyes were clearer. She felt less tired when reading the newspaper, and her head felt lighter. This wasn't simply a vision issue. It was because visual neurons and brain cells are closely connected. Another important point is to avoid grinding apples and drinking them as juice. Grinding destroys the cell structure, causing the sugar to be absorbed too quickly and spike blood sugar levels, which is especially bad for the elderly. The best way is to chew them slowly and eat them whole. 1 apple a day is sufficient, and the best time to eat them is about 30 minutes after breakfast, when the brain can best absorb the nutrients that are the real cause of memory loss. Next up is eggs. Eggs are a common breakfast food in many households, but their value to the brain depends almost entirely on how they are prepared. Egg yolks contain compounds that connect nerve cells, acting as a kind of connective tissue that facilitates the transmission of information. Overcooking eggs denatures these compounds, making them much more difficult for the body to absorb. Many people worry that soft-boiled eggs are dangerous or raise cholesterol. However, if the egg whites are fully cooked, there's virtually no risk of bacteria, and large-scale studies have shown that consuming moderate amounts of eggs doesn't harm cardiovascular health. In fact, the compounds in the yolks can even help brain function more efficiently. Another patient, Park Sung-hoon, couldn't even remember his grandchild's phone number. He ate eggs every day, but always cooked them thoroughly for fear of stomach upset. I advised him to switch to soft-boiled eggs, leaving the yolks soft and the whites thoroughly cooked. Soon, he was delighted, saying that numbers that had previously been impossible to remember were now more clearly in his mind. This wasn't a miracle, but rather the fact that his brain cells were being supplied with the right ingredients to rewire. You can eat up to 2 eggs a day, ideally splitting them between breakfast and lunch. It's best to avoid them in the evening to reduce digestive strain. Eating it with rice combines the carbohydrates and natural fat in the egg yolk, allowing the brain to better absorb the nutrients it needs. Eating just these 2 familiar foods properly can make a huge difference in your memory and mental clarity. The key isn't whether the food is special or expensive, but rather how you eat it. Once you understand that even familiar foods can make a significant difference in your memory, if you know how to eat them properly, many people begin to ask themselves, isn't there something simpler than this? Indeed, there is. And if you know how to do it correctly, the effects can be even more powerful. The next food I like to talk about is seaweed. We Koreans eat it almost every day, but most of us do it incorrectly. After age 60, the brain tends to shrink. This isn't just my personal feeling. I've clearly seen it over the years, having viewed thousands of brain scans. The brain regions responsible for memory, in particular, atrophy more quickly than other areas. Many people believe this is an inevitable, natural aging process. However, the truth is that by consistently consuming certain nutrients, we can slow or even prevent this process. Gimhi contains vitamins and minerals that play a crucial role in protecting nerve cells and maintaining communication between brain cells. When these cells can continue to communicate with each other, memories are created and stored. The problem lies in how we eat gym. Most people prefer gym that has been oiled and already roasted because it's delicious and convenient. However, that very oil destroys most of the brain's vital nutrients. I once treated a patient named Lee Jong-ho. He was deeply anxious after hearing that his internal organs were declining at a faster than normal rate. When I asked him about his eating habits, he said he eats gym frequently, but always chooses products that are oiled. I advised them to use pure, oil-free dried seaweed, quickly toasting on a hot, uncooked pan for a few seconds, then dipping it in soy sauce and eating it. After a while, when re-examined, the rate of decline had slowed significantly. This wasn't a coincidence. It was because the brain was being properly protected. Another very important point is to avoid drinking coffee immediately after eating seaweed. Caffeine can reduce the absorption of brain-protecting vitamins. It's best to wait at least 30 minutes. 2 sheets of seaweed per day are sufficient, 1 in the morning and 1 in the evening. You don't need to eat a lot, but eating regularly and properly is important. The next food I'd like to talk about after seaweed is curry, a popular favorite. Curry contains curcumin, which helps remove waste accumulated in the brain, cleanses the brain's nutrient system, and helps cells function more efficiently. It sounds very good, but eating curry alone wastes most of its benefits. The biggest drawback of curcumin is its extremely low absorption rate. Even if you eat a lot, your body only uses a very small amount. That's why some people don't see any improvement in their memory despite eating curry frequently. Apples and eggs. Why you're eating them wrong, the solution is simple. Pepper. Pepper contains a compound that opens the door for curcumin to enter your body. Sprinkling just a small amount of pepper on your curry just before serving increases its absorption rate several times. The key is to avoid adding pepper when cooking, as high heat destroys its effectiveness. I still vividly remember the case of Choi Eun-young. She loved the taste of curry and ate it often, but she didn't notice any changes. When I explained the reason and instructed her to sprinkle pepper just before eating, she diligently followed through. After a few months, she reported that her mind was clearer, she remembered things better, and she no longer felt as foggy as before. It was a very small change, but the results were completely different. 2 or 3 times a week is enough for curry. When eating, just sprinkle a little pepper, not too much. It's better to use ground peppercorns because they have a higher content of active ingredients. This isn't just a folk remedy. It's a fact proven by numerous scientific studies. Looking back at these 3 foods, they all have something in common. They're all very familiar and easy to digest.